Photographs can't always express the meaning behind them. Sometimes a story needs to be told with a photograph. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at some interesting historical photos and what stories lie behind them. Marilyn Monroe and JFK. On the 19th of May 1962, Marilyn Monroe was invited to a fundraiser and an early 45th birthday celebration of the president at the time, John F. Kennedy, although his actual birthday came 10 days later. This event took place a few months before Marilyn's passing at New York's Madison Square Garden. The birthday was broadcasted before a national audience, and around 15,000 people had to pay for their seats to watch the event live at the Garden. Marilyn sang the popular birthday song to JFK in a sultry, intimate voice, which fueled the rumors of an affair between the then president and the pop culture icon at the time. The performance remains a cultural reference decades later, and is also worthy of attention because the event produced what is considered the only photograph of Monroe and Kennedy together. The photo was kept secret by White House photographer Cecil Stoughton, who kept it hidden for decades and decided to release it in 2010. If the general public did not already believe that the Hollywood symbol and the president were secret lovers, Marilyn's luscious performance would make them the subject of intense speculation for years to come and lead to relentless reports filled with rumors of them being together, especially since Marilyn's passing would come just a few months later. It is not confirmed when Marilyn Monroe and President JFK first met, but there was a wide speculation that they had an affair during her third marriage. As two of the most photographed and documented eras of their time, there is barely a trace of JFK and Marilyn being in the same place at the same time as each other. Both were two of the most famous and probably the most attractive figures in the world at the time, and there were plenty of rumors of the president's extramarital affairs. According to most reports, there are only a few times throughout their lives that Kennedy and Marilyn could have encountered one another. The first was at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel Paris Ball in April 1957, though they were not formally introduced. Theorists speculated that JFK shared state secrets during their encounters, and the star threatened to go public with the information if the president did not publicly acknowledge his relationship with her. It was also speculated that Marilyn's passing was orchestrated by the Kennedys to remove the threat, although it's important to note that there is hardly any forensic evidence to support this claim. Those close to Marilyn admitted that there was something between JFK and Marilyn, but it was just a dalliance and nothing more than a one-night stand. Abraham Lincoln arrives at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg lasted over the course of 3 days from July 1st to July 3rd, 1863. It was one of the bloodiest battles of the American Civil War, with over 51,000 casualties. The United States' victory marked the turning point of the battle. On the 19th of November 1863, at the dedication of the military cemetery at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, during the American Civil Battle, President Abraham Lincoln delivered one of the most memorable speeches in the history of the United States of America. The Pennsylvanian governor at the time charged an attorney named David Wills to care for those at Gettysburg that lost their lives. David Wills bought about 17 acres of pastures and turned it into a cemetery for more than 7,500 soldiers that fell in the battle. Wills invited Edward Everett, a former dean of Harvard University and one of the most famous orators of his day, to serve as the speaker and deliver a speech at the cemetery's dedication. Wills then sent a letter to Lincoln, just 2 weeks to the event, requesting for a few remarks to sanctify the grounds. Lincoln saw this as an opportunity to make a statement to the people of America on the tremendous significance of their efforts, and he prepared carefully. The crowd of about 15,000 listened to Edward Everett speak for 2 hours. Then Lincoln delivered his message, which took about 2 to 3 minutes. He began by invoking the image of the Founding Fathers and the new nation. He articulately expressed his belief that the civil battle was the ultimate test of whether the Union established in 1776 would either survive or perish. In fewer than 275 words, Lincoln connected the current struggle to the days of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, speaking on the basic principle that the nation was birthed in, freedom and the belief that all men are created equal. In addition, he tied both the abolition of slavery and the maintenance of representative government. In the years to come, the speech Abraham Lincoln gave at the dedication would endure as arguably the most quoted and most memorized piece of oratory in the United States' history. Despite the brevity and succinctness of the speech, since the speech was delivered, it has come to be regarded as one of the most powerful statements in the English language, and in fact, one of the most important expressions of freedom and liberty in any language. Edward Everett wrote to Lincoln that, "I wish I could flatter myself that I had come as near to the central idea of the occasion in 2 hours as you did in 2 minutes." A priest praying over the victims of the Titanic. In April of 1912, the British luxury passenger liner Titanic sank during its maiden voyage en route to New York from Southampton, England, losing around 1,500 passengers and ship personnel. One of the most notable tragedies in modern history, it has inspired several stories, music, and movies, and has been the subject of much scholarship and scientific speculation. From the outset, the Titanic captivated the public's imagination. At the time, it was one of the largest and most opulent ships in the world. It was widely considered unsinkable due to a series of compartment doors that could be closed if the bow was breached. However, 4 days into its first journey, in 1912, the ship struck an iceberg and less than 3 hours later, it sank. 9 days after the ship had gone down in the Atlantic Ocean, the Titanic's victims were gathered to be prayed over before they were buried at sea. The image, which was discovered in 1912, shows body bags stacked on the windswept deck, while 2 people who were said to be crewmen tipped up a stretcher to drop the victims over the side. The ship's priest, Reverend Hind, can be seen in white conducting the service in front of the solemn crew, who are assembled days after the Titanic had sunk on its journey from Southampton to New York City. Although records stated that 166 of the 306 bodies retrieved by the Mackay-Bennett ship, the only ship that responded to Titanic's distress call, were buried at sea. No images of this event were seen by the general public until almost a century later. Most of the victims that were dropped into the Atlantic Ocean were believed to have been chosen because they had no means of identification or were third-class passengers and therefore could not afford a funeral. The Mackay-Bennett spent 5 days retrieving bodies of the victims from the wreck site and had to request for a second vessel to join it because there were so many bodies. The image has been owned by a family member of the crew that was on Mackay-Bennett. In the aftermath of this disastrous event, the ship Carpathia picked up more than 700 survivors from the lifeboats. The picture clearly blows away the myth that the Titanic burials were an orderly and dignified process. The bodies can be seen piled up on the deck, with some piled 3 or 4 high. In an account of the burials, Reverend Hind later wrote, "Anyone attending a burial at sea will surely lose the common impression of the awfulness of a grave in the mighty deep." But what do you make of these photos, and why have they been kept so quiet? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.